Alright, so this is section 2.2. It's over parallel and perpendicular lines and how to determine if two lines are parallel or perpendicular just by looking at the slopes. And so the first term that I have is opposite reciprocals. I wrote down some examples right here that you should copy in your notebook. Examples of opposite reciprocals would be, for example, 2/3 and -3/2, because they're opposite signs. One of them is positive, the other one's negative. And then the numerator and denominator are flipped. So that's an example. Second one is a little bit harder to see for some students. I have -3 and +1/3. So again, they're opposite signs. One's negative, the other one's positive. And then the denominator and numerator are also flipped. For this one, if you have a whole number, remember, if you want to change it to a fraction, all you have to do is put a 1 underneath. And when you do that, you can see that the numerator and denominator are flipped. Now, some non-examples of this would be like 5 and 1/2, because they're just different numbers, or 2/3 and 3/2. Even though I have the numerator and denominator flipped, they don't have opposite signs, so therefore they're not considered to be opposite reciprocals. We'll get to this once we get to our second graph. But for my examples, I'm given 4 points that I have to plot, and so I already plotted those. And then I have to connect them to create the lines that they're telling me. They're telling me line AB and line CD. So for line AB, I have to connect those 2 points. So this one. Because they're lines, I can extend them past the points and then put arrows. And then they also tell me line CD. So I'm going to connect those 2 points, points C and D. Okay, so if I were to give you the graph, you could tell that they're parallel lines because they never intersect. But I'm going to show you how to determine, just looking at the slopes, if those are parallel or not. So for this one, I'm going to find the slope for AB, and you can use whichever formula you prefer. If you like using rise over run, if I give you the graph, you could use rise over run, or you could use the formula where you subtract change in y and change in x. So for slope, I'm going to use rise over run. So to move from point B to point A, I have to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units. So that's my rise. And then I have to move 1, 2 units to the right. That's my run. And so now I just divide 8 divided by 2. That gives me 4. So my slope for line AB is 4. I'm going to find the slope for line CD. I'm going to do the same thing. My slope, rise over run. And I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 again. So that's my rise. And I run 1 and 2. So same thing, 8 divided by 2 is 4. And because I have 2 slopes that are the same, if you notice, they're the same. Those are parallel lines. And anytime you have parallel lines on a graph, they will not intersect. If they're just giving you the slopes are going to be equal. So for parallel lines, you are going to write down that they have the same slope. And this is the notation that tells you line AB is parallel to line CD. I'm going to do the same thing on the second graph. On the second graph, again, they already gave me the points, and I already plotted them on the graph. So again, they're giving me line AB, so I'm going to connect those 2 points, A and B. And then they gave me line CD, they're telling me up here, CD. So I'm going to connect C and D, and I have two different lines. This one, it's obvious that they're not parallel because they're intersecting, and I'm going to show you with their slopes that these are perpendicular lines because they intersect at 90-degree angles. And they intersect at 90-degree angles. Look like that. So again, for line AB, I'm going to use my formula of rise over run. And so I'm going to start from point B just because it's the lowest one, and I'm going to go up towards point A. So I have to go up 1, 2, so that's my rise, and then my run is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And since I moved A to the left, anytime you move to the left, that's negative. So 2 divided by negative 8, that simplifies to negative 1/4. Same thing, but now for line CD. Alright, so I'm going to start from point C just because it's the lowest one, and I'm going to go up towards point D. So I'm going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That's my rise. And then 2 to the right, that's my run. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And remember, if it's a whole number, you can put a 1 underneath. Now you can see that they have opposite signs. One is negative, the other one's positive. And the numerator and denominator, they're flipped. So those are known as opposite reciprocals. And so whenever you have opposite reciprocals, those are known to be perpendicular lines. So right underneath your graph, you're going to write that down. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. And so the notation to say that they're perpendicular is this: line AB is perpendicular to CD. So you're gonna know what those symbols mean: parallel and perpendicular. If it's neither, if the slopes are not the same and the slopes are not opposite reciprocals, then to classify it for this section, you would just say that they are neither.